I would like to call the meeting to order. Thank you for joining us for our weekly hybrid MLS breakfast meeting. My name is CEO from Pinnacle Real Estate Group, and I'm the July chair, program chair. Right now, Mr. Carlos from Coldwell Banker, would you like to meet us in the pledge of allegiance? Please come up to the microphone.
Morning, it's my pleasure to be the place. Place your hand on your heart and repeat. I pledge allegiance of the United States of America. Liberty and justice. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, an inspirational quote from Wang.
Thank you, Earl. How many of you have heard, take it one day at a time, take it step by step? Right? It's not because they're telling you have short legs. They're not telling you to fail, and they don't want you to just never get there. It's because they want you to succeed. So with that, I leave you this quote. Sometimes the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest step of your life.
Thank you very much. Member, and would like to make an announcement. Please fill out the announcement form located on the left table, and please complete it and return it to Berlin right here. Thank you. A few housekeeping tips. All participants on Zoom will be muted upon entry into the MLS breakfast meeting, and should they have a question or make a comment, please remember to enter it into the chat box. Please remember to join our weekly hybrid MLS breakfast meeting every Thursday, 9:00 a.m. As always, the meeting is being recorded and will be available online on our YouTube channel. For those who want to take a second look at Wes and Gabriel Valley Realtors website. Please remember to follow WSGVR in our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also watch all the pre-recorded videos on YouTube. Join our text group for instant updates from just text WSGVR to the number 888-301-2201. Today's agenda consists of the affiliate spotlight, Lucia Tam. Thank you. Chinese American Real Estate Professionals Association, and our guest speakers, Joseph Haggerty from Orange Coast Title. Valerie Li from Valerie Li Law. And last but not least, Mr. Henry Wang from the law offices of Henry Wang. Just a reminder, to be eligible for today's drawings, you must be a WSGVR member and be in person at the association. We will be having an attendance drawing, the Amazon gift card drawing, and the 50-50 raffle. That's right there, get tickets out. So right now, today's our affiliate spotlight will be brought to you by our affiliate committee, Chairperson Lena Sankari from US Bank, and Vice Chair Grace Nguyen from Loan Direct. Lucia, please welcome Lucia. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lucia Tam. I am the president of CAREPA, Chinese American Real Estate Professionals Association. I've been a realtor for over 40 years now. I remember when we used to do offers in one sheet, 8.5 by 11, half page only and half page empty. So that's how long I've been in real estate. It's been a while. But I am very happy to be in this profession for this long and to see so many friends and so many people. Actually, the real estate industry is my family. But my own family, I have 4 children, 3 sons, 1 daughter, Anthony the oldest, Stephen the second, the one in black and dark glasses, Raymond, the tallest one, is the youngest one, And Catherine is my only girl. And I'm very happy they are all successful in life. They all graduated and have their own jobs and also their own partners. I do have 2 grandchildren, 2 grandsons. The one scratching his head is Marcus, which is the oldest one. And the little one is Marcus. Yeah, I'm very happy. Oh, that's a lot of food. Yes, I know. Actually, a lot of people that know me well enough, I am a chef. I am a certified chef for over 40 years now. And I have several specialties in international food. And I can do pretty much everything. And I do cater a lot. I do bake a lot. For those who know me doing those Chinese 粽子, the Chinese, what they call Chinese tamales, huh? Yeah, those are good. Yeah, but it takes a long time to do. Every year, like the last month, I did over 500 of them. Actually, my record has been about 1,000. I get orders by the hundreds every single year. So, you know, if anybody wants to try it next year, that'll be sometime in June. Let me know. Oh, you want you want that 1,000, huh? Okay. I am involved in a lot of community associations, especially in Chinatown. I belong to the Bing Kong Association, Bing Kong Tong Association. It is a Chinese Mason, the only Chinese Mason that I know here in the United States. I also belong to trade associations in real estate and construction. But as far as the state, federal, and county is concerned, I'm in the Small Business Council for Los Angeles County Metro, for LAUSD, for Caltrans, and also the LA County Assessor's Office. Here in the Western Gabriel Valley Board, I am the affiliate rep for CARPA, Chinese American Real Estate Professionals Association. We meet every second Wednesday live at NBC and Zoom on the 4th Wednesday. So I invite you all to come and hopefully I'll see you soon again. Thank you.
Okay, I know we see you. I know as Carol always has a really wonderful dinner at NBC. It's always so well. Please remember to support our affiliates with your transaction. We will now have our affiliate introductions for today. All paid affiliates present today, please line up at the front. No promotions or announcements. This is a morning greet only. And please walk towards the door after your greeting.
Hi, Maureen. I'm Cosmo Sanchez, and I'm a lender with UA Funding. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Brandon Sobransky with First American NHD.
John Wang.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Derek Talbert with CSP Insurance. You guys have a great day.
Good morning, everyone. Sage Gomez with my NHD, and have a great day.
Good morning, John Sam from Bunch of Blinds. If you're trying to stay cool, call me.
Buenos dias.
Morning, my name is Sam Yu. I'm with Primerica Mortgage.
Hello, everybody. Eduardo Higuchi with New York Life.
Good morning, everybody. Yolanda Martinez Arana, WFG National Title Company. Have an awesome day in State Columbus.
Good morning, everyone. Chris Hahn with Guild Mortgage. Have an awesome day.
Good morning, Jeff Bird with Western Rooter Plumbing.
Good morning, everyone, and everyone on Zoom. Nancy Chan, Lawyer Asylum. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Alba Moy from Moy Antibel Pembroke. Have a wonderful day. Good morning, everyone. Angie Tang, First American Title. Have a wonderful caravan. Good morning, Alina Chu from Glen Oaks Escrow in San Marino. Have a wonderful day.
Good morning, everyone, again here and on Zoom. I'm Lucia Tam, representing CarePound Chinese American Real Estate Professionals Association.
Morning, my name is Phoebe from Mrs. Bank. I'm a local commercial loan officer. Guys, a wonderful day. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Haggerty and with Orange Coast Title. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Jacqueline Chu from Champion Escrow.
Good morning, Henry Wang, estate planning attorney. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Valerie Li, I'm a real estate attorney. I have my own firm, Valerie Li Law.
Good morning, David Tran with Home Warranty. Just like Nanette said, the first step to reaching this is to buy a ticket for me.
Morning, this is Teresa Lam with Corinthian Title. Thank you for being here and so glad to see you. Have a nice day.
Next, we will call on the affiliates who are joining us virtually. The first is John Wax from SNAP NHD.
Thank you, Earl. Good morning, everyone. John Wax with Snap NHD Natural Hazard Disclosure Reports. Stay cool, stay hydrated. The heat is still on, and have a wonderful day. Information in the chat.
Thank you, John. And now Judy Chow from AAA Capital Investments.
Good morning. This is Judy, Senior Law Officer. Have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. And Sandy Franco from First American Home Warranty.
Good morning, everyone. Sandy Franco, First American Home Warranty. Have a fabulous rest of your week.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you to all the affiliates. We're also happy to include open pitching at our hybrid MLS breakfast meeting. Reminder is that if you would like to pitch your listing, you must go to wsgbar.com to click on open pitch and fill out the caravan request form and submit it no later than Tuesday midnight on the week that you want to make the pitch. Today, we have one listing from Wei Liu of Remax. Is Wei here?
Shun is pitching for Wei Liu.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Shun with VMAX pitching for Wei Liu, 288 Oakland Avenue, number unit 106. It is a beautiful studio unit for sale in the heart of Pasadena. We're only asking $709. So it is close to town Pasadena, Old Town Pasadena, Lake Avenue shopping, 10-foot ceiling, French door, hardwood floor, 2-car parking space. There's a caravan today, so please support and go check it out. There will be open house today as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chung San. Okay, it's our real high point today. Let's give a warm welcome to our guest speakers, Mr. Joseph Haggerty from Orange Coast Title, Valerie Li from Valerie Li Law, and Mr. Henry Wang from the Law Office of Henry Wang. Let's get started.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So our panel titled Maximizing Real Estate Security Title Estate Planning Litigation. Going over some of the basics of each of our fields. In regards to title insurance, this is an obvious protection, right?
Next slide.
Yeah. Why do you need title insurance? So what are the protections under title insurance, right? When you have title insurance, most of you I think are familiar, but you're protected against losses or damages that are incurred related to defects or other people's claims to title of their property, right? So it's a very necessary thing. Essentially, you're given clear title as the owner. The lender is given also clear title and clarity on, guaranteed as to what position they are and priority of the loan. So there's those two policies, right? The lender and the homeowner are getting this policy. Those parties are insured. The unsaid benefits, there's like, there's a lot of things that people don't really talk about. There's a lot of people that try to say that, title insurance is unnecessary, it's something, it's a waste of money. You've heard people say this sometimes, and it's just ridiculous. One of the most, I would say least talked about thing that title insurance protects you for is the marketability of the property. Title insurance creates marketability. It makes the property marketable, a marketable product for the lender. If there's financing on the property, which means the lender can sell their loan to another lender, or they feel that this is a competent risk or liability they're willing to take. And as well, marketability for the owner, right? The owner, if everything is sound on the title of their property, they can sell the property again with no problem, right? So marketability, huge benefit when it comes to title insurance. Another thing that's not really talked about that much is all the work that goes into the transaction by the title company staff. We're not just issuing a policy at the end of the day. You have the people in the office, from the title officer to the searchers, examiners, the people that open the order. They're all doing something that requires experience and knowledge. And at the end of the day, if they do their job right, if they put in the effort and the focus on your file, they're the ones eliminating the risks that could give you a headache later as a homeowner, that could cause, some kind of situation where you have a claim later. We often have to review, legal documents, court documents, probate or life, trust, estate, everything. We have to review all that, make a decision, make sure that nothing is going to come up after the fact when you close escrow. Because even though you have the title insurance policy, nobody wants to have a claim, right? So this is a service that you're actually paying for, not just a title policy. An endorsement is basically an extra type of coverage, right? A supplemental type of coverage. This is something that people ask about sometimes, but basically, if your policy does not cover something, you can add that endorsement coverage, right? There's two types of policies that you can get as an owner of a property, which is the ALTA coverage or the CLTA coverage. We refer to the CLTA coverage as basic coverage. That's the most basic coverage that you can get. And like I said, the endorsement could be an extra form of coverage. So you may only be deemed to be insured with the CLTA coverage, depending on the owner, the party that's being insured, or the property type. But you may also want a specific type of coverage. So as the buyer, you can make sure that you have coverage for certain risks just by requesting that. Now the ALTA coverage, we also refer to this as an extended coverage policy or full coverage. This is covering the things that are unknown at the time of the transaction, the off-record matters. So there's going to be, there's a long list of coverages, from things like, claims or interest to the property that were unknown, boundary discrepancies, loss of a structure due to something being unpermitted or not zoned properly, unrecorded easements, anything unrecorded that has a legal effect and causes some issue for you. You're going to have that coverage with the ALTA policy. Another type of, it's kind of, people think of it like a type of a policy, but it's not exactly a type of coverage, but a binder. A binder is, so it's important to understand that, what a binder is. If you're an investor, you're going to want a binder often if you're going to be holding the property for a short term, because it creates a huge discount when you go to resell the property. You're basically going to be paying the difference from the policy premium when you purchased it. And then the new policy when you go to sell it. So instead of paying the full owner's policy, you sell it for that next owner, you're paying a minimal amount, just the difference of those two policies. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is that when you're getting a binder, you're only getting CLTA coverage in the beginning. the CLTA basic coverage. But what most people don't know is that you can, if you were gonna hold the property beyond the binder period, which is typically 2 years, you could actually call the title company, and purchase the additional coverage to turn it into an ALTA policy. If the title company agrees to give you that coverage. It's not, like I said, it's not always, that coverage is not always. Does title insurance cost? These are some common questions. Title insurance is really, it's always based on the liability amount, which is the value of the property, right? So we're insuring the property. If it's worth $1 million, or selling it for $1 million, we're insuring it for that amount. That's what the payout could end up being if there was an extreme failure of title, right? A complete failure of title. If the property is not worth $1 million and we insured it at that, that's also a failure. You know, if the property was just some shack worth 300,000, we shouldn't be insuring it for that amount. It should be relevant to the property. So the cost is based on the value or the liability, and every title company has to post their rates with the Department of Insurance. So we have a rate, a chart that like we have to go by. It starts at a certain amount and it goes up in increments every $10,000. And if you're considering the price of one company to another as to how you decide choosing the title, that's not really the best way to go about it. You want to work with people that you just know and trust, not because it's $20 difference in price or something. So, but it's essentially based on the value, and like I said, it goes up in increments every $10,000. I would say most companies start somewhere around like $400 on average, maybe, and then on up depending on the value. Who's covered by the title insurance policy? Well, that's a very simple answer. I mean, you obviously have the insured parties that are named on the policy, number one, but who's also protected are other people, right? The previous owner, if someone was not acknowledged, to someone who may have interest in the property, an heir, or maybe there was something overlooked in the previous deeds, these people are also covered by what happens, what was missed, if anything was missed, right? So we're typically insuring the lender, if there's a loan policy, not the owner. Those are the people that can call in and make claims. But if someone has a legitimate claim to the property by a lien or just claiming interest in the ownership, they can also call. What happens if you change title after you close escrow? Well, this could be different for every situation, and how every title company responds could also be different. If you're going to make changes to how you hold title or who's on title afterwards, you definitely want to contact the previous title company and make sure that you can continue coverage. The coverage typically follows the owner, their heirs, their trust, all the things that are directly related to them, as long as it's not related to a completely different person that doesn't have legal meaning to your estate. It gets very specific, but anyway, if you're changing title, if you're putting your property into a trust, you shouldn't have to worry. If you're adding a spouse, if you're putting your property into an LLC, something else like that, you may want to contact the title company because they may require an endorsement to continue coverage. If you need title insurance on an all cash deal, I would say, you really need title insurance in every deal. Even if you're buying a piece of vacant land for $5,000, what you're not getting is the peace of mind that, first of all, that there's no, what if you bought it for $5,000, but the seller had a lien for $90,000? Now that's going to follow the property, right? They could come after you, and then you're going to have to go after the title company if there was a title company. Not, now you have a lawsuit against that person. So title insurance keeps you out of court, right? In every situation, or it helps you when you are in court, if that happens. It also keeps a continuity of who has the legal right to own that property. So when you have title insurance, the next time you go to sell it, the next title company can simply look and see you had a title policy. We can go ahead and move forward and sell the property to the next person without any questions. without title insurance, you may have to go back to that previous owner. You have to hunt them down, right? So huge protection, with title insurance. Pass it over to.
So my name is Henry Wang. I'm an estate planning attorney. So purpose here, I'm here to talk about how you can protect your property using estate.
It's just on. We're turning it up.
Oh,
It's just, it's on, it's on.
okay. Can you guys hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah. It's a
Okay,
little.
I'll try to speak louder. So I'm here to talk about how you can protect your property using estate planning. So first, estate planning is a process by which you can pass your property onto your loved ones, your next generation, safely and properly, and hopefully to avoid probate. So one of the common questions I get asked often a lot is, what is the difference between a will and a trust? I think all of you might be familiar with the concept of a will. You hear it on TV shows, movies all the time. Anytime a celebrity passes, you hear about a will. But a trust is really the modern trend by which for you to pass your property on to your future generations. And you need a trust to avoid probate. So even if you had a will, unfortunately, for your property to pass on to your children or any of your other loved ones, it's going to have to go through probate. Okay, so you want to have a trust, a revocable living trust is the proper way to go to make sure that those properties will be able to pass on without having to go through the courts. And probate is an expensive process, and it also takes a long time. And all the fees are statutory, meaning it's not something you can negotiate, but it's just something that you're going to have to pay if you don't have a trust. So one of the things, benefits of having a trust also is that you can do a little bit more advanced planning. For example, you can create a lifetime estate of interest for maybe a spouse, and that's very popular for people with a blended family. So if you have in that kind of situation, you might want to create a life estate for your spouse, but then after that spouse passes, the property then can still go to your children. So that's a very popular option. You can do that through a trust. And as Joe has mentioned, when you have a trust, when you put your trust when you put your property into your trust, your coverage for your title insurance coverage should still continue. You don't need additional endorsements or anything like that. But I suppose if you have questions, you can also always contact your title company to make sure. One of the questions often I get asked as well is, so what if you have multiple properties, right? When you have multiple properties, it usually means that some of your properties might be rental properties, so they're investment properties. You might want to think about setting up an LLC for liability purposes. You want to make sure that if something happens on one of those properties, if they sue you, that liability is limited just to that property and not all of your assets. So setting up some type of partnership, corporation, LLC might be a good way to protect you. A common way is to set up an LLC. I suppose if you don't have one, you might want to think about a nice umbrella policy to make sure that you're protected. But if you set up an LLC, as Joe has mentioned as well, you might need an endorsement, so you should contact your title company to make sure that happens. But otherwise, having an LLC is a great way to protect your property. Now, the next thing is another common thing I see with a lot of different clients is there's a mistake of having a trust, but it's not properly funded. When I talk about trust funding, I think of it this way. Your trust is just an empty bucket. You create this empty bucket, but you have to put assets into it. If you don't put your assets into it, if it doesn't have your property, you never reported your property into your trust, then it's not properly funded. And that means you don't really have the protection that you're looking for when you created the trust. You still have to go through probate, still have to go through your bank accounts and everything else wouldn't be part of the trust. So just a bucket. So trust funding is really the process by which you put your assets into this bucket so it can be properly distributed according to the terms you trust. Okay. So, but the common thing is that sometimes people do create a trust, but for whatever reason, they forget to put their assets into the trust. Sometimes it's just mistakes or inadvertence, or sometimes they just forget. People sometimes inherit property that is in their own name, and again, they get to put that into the trust. So what happens when that happens is that there's possible legal actions that you can take. What's called a head step petition, which you petition to the court to ask the court to forgive your mistake, and then therefore place that property into the trust. So, and that happens, of course, after your passing, but I wouldn't rely on that as a sort of a means of protecting yourself. So Hague's petition sort of helps you if you did forget to put your assets into the trust, but you have to show that to the court. You have to show to the court that you actually did intend to put your assets and your property into the trust, but just through mistakes or inadvertence, you forgot to do so. But depending on the scenarios, there could be a lot of challenges to that. So you might not get the protection that you thought you have. So it's better to make sure that your trust is properly funded. So with that, I think
Everyone, good morning. My name is Valerie. I'm a real estate attorney. So now let's talk about enforcing and defending your real property rights. One of the things that property owners don't realize that is that you have to proactively protect your asset, whether it's your primary residence, a business property, or investment property. So I'm going to talk about some common issues that people often come to me about. Hopefully that'll help you recognize what some of the potential issues that may arise. So first, let's turn to boundary disputes. So you might have a new neighbor or a developer that comes in next door, and all of a sudden they take down your shared wall. Or if they build an ADU too close to your shared wall. You might say, well, what's the harm? It's just a little bit of space, they're going to put the wall back up. Well, not resolving these issues right now impacts your ability to redevelop your property later. For example, if you want to increase the square footage of your home or add your own ADU, suddenly you might have a setback problem and you won't be able to do the redevelopment that you want to. Or if the neighbor moves the boundary wall, that might immediately impact your ability to access your driveway and your backyard. Or as another example, if the neighbor moves the boundary wall, that may disturb your existing plantings and trees. So when this happens, property owners, they often they negotiate a private deal where one party, the party encroaching, may pay for the encroachment. Or the party that's relocating the wall, they may say, okay, I'm sorry I took down the wall. Let me pay for the ongoing maintenance and repairs of the wall. Or if the parties can't decide where the boundary line is, they may just go to court and adjudicate the issue. Another type of issue I commonly see is easement disputes. Often you see this where there is space that is shared or the line between the properties is not clearly demarcated, like a shared driveway, or let's say a hillside that doesn't have fencing. For example, you might be using the space on your property for years without argument. You might park your vehicles there, you might put your personal property there, you might use it for recreation, your kids play there, you have like a picnic table there. Then a new neighbor comes in and tries to prevent you from using the space. These disputes often become arguments about whether an easement exists to allow you to further use that property you've been using all this time. So like boundary disputes, property owners, they could either negotiate a deal for the encroachment, or they could go sue and get their rights adjudicated in court. I want to highlight at this point that for these two categories, boundary disputes and easement disputes, you also have to think about potential liability, because I often get people who are like, well, I don't know if I want to cause trouble. You know, I've been living, I live next door to whoever the troublemaker is. I don't want to stir things up. Well, you also have to think about who's responsible for the repair and maintenance of this easement area or this wall, right? And does your property and casualty insurance cover the space in case something happens? We see this a lot. A retainer wall comes down. Who's responsible? Who has to tore up the property, right? So it costs oftentimes tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're on the hillside. And so this is really important. Who is responsible for what? A third category are title disputes and proper recordings. Examples of these are claims that you received a forged deed or a deed that was given under undue influence. Or you might face a claim that the person who gave you the deed was actually unauthorized under the trust or partnership agreement. In addition, I know a lot of you might have faced this, where people own property with romantic partners friends, family members, there's often a later dispute about what the parties' respective rights and interests and responsibilities are in the property. For example, if someone helps you qualify for a loan, oftentimes you put them on title, right? But later, they might claim that they own the entire property, even though they never put a penny into it. And so these issues could seriously cause you to lose your property or, you know, maybe a percentage of what you've invested. So owners and competing claims often go to court to get this adjudicated, or they hopefully negotiate some private agreement that's fair for everybody. The last category we're going to talk about today are liens. For example, you renovate your property, or you put in an ADU, or maybe you're doing some landscaping. You might not realize that your general contractor has subcontracted the work. And if the subcontractors and the people who provide the materials don't get paid, they have the right to put a mechanics lien on your property. And that gives them the right to foreclose on your property, just to recover the little that they were owed. Unless you take some action to prevent the foreclosure. So in view of all these very serious issues, what are some solutions for defending your property rights? Can we go to the next slide?
Sorry.
So number one, understand your property rights. I think understanding them now is better than paying me a whole lot later to resolve it, okay? So what are some things that you could proactively do right now? Well, for one, check your title policy, see what's covered. What are potential issues that exist in your property? And if your boundary lines are unclear, figure out if you need a survey. Also, if you own property with somebody else, it's highly recommended that you get a joint partnership agreement or a joint ownership agreement or a partition agreement at least, so that you could avoid serious disputes later. Second, be vigilant, take action early. So for example, for those of us who live in LA County, you can sign up for the LA County Reporters e-notification program. So that will alert you anytime a reporting is made against your property. Then there's the important step of when there's activity happening that's impacting your property. And a lot of my clients do this. So you might see, let's say, surveyors poking around next door, or it looks like your neighbor has construction workers coming to the house. Some people will just not do anything until it's too late. I really recommend you go outside, talk to the neighbor, talk to the workers, poke around, figure out what's going on, take pictures, and document, because this might really help you avoid serious issues later. Let's say they pull down your wall completely, or they put in something that, a building that makes it really hard to take down and resolve later. Finally, and this is important, as Joe has mentioned, buy title insurance. And for really old policies, because in California, throughout the decades, we've seen extreme appreciation of the properties. Make sure there's enough coverage on the title insurance. Let's say you bought in the 70s or the 80s. A lot of the importance of this, I think I can't emphasize this enough, is that title insurance could cover many of the issues that I just mentioned. Title companies often, they could appoint defense counsel so that you don't have to spend your own money out of pocket paying somebody, right, to defend you. Or they may pay to compensate defects in your title. So that's one thing that I often tell people. First step, go make a claim, check if you could get title to help you. This is, you paid a whole lot of money in escrow, make sure you put your title insurance to work. But I want to caveat, you have to be very careful because there is the fine print, right? So make sure, like right now when you go home, figure out what's the scope of your policy, what defects are actually covered and what's not, because not everything's covered, okay? And number two, what's the policy alerting you? So everyone has in their policy a schedule, A and B and so forth. The exceptions listed on your policy, those tell you if there are uncertainties in the title. And some of them will even say, look, this boundary issue is probably not covered unless you get a survey to verify your lines first. So where there are uncertainties, take action now. You might be able, like Joe said, to purchase endorsement where you could buy additional protection to add on to your current policy. So these are all smart steps that you could take to maximize security. I think that's my time. Joe and Henry, do you have anything else to add?
Just one thing to add about the, you mentioned about how they may have like not enough coverage. Well, actually, The title company is insuring the property at the time they're insuring it. Let's say it's worth, I mean, there's rarely gonna be some claim from way back in the seventies, but we're insuring it now, a house for $1 million. If it happens to go up the next few years, 1.2, 1.5, you don't need to get more coverage. The title company is just on the hook for that increased value. We have to determine the best coverage when we insure the property at that time. So you know, you don't actually go back and get reinsured by a title company. But you can get endorsements to continue coverage or possibly get other coverage.
I don't have anything to add.
If there are, excuse me, sorry. Questions, we can do a Q&A right now. Just step up to the microphone if you have questions for our attorneys who are online.
Thank you, panelists. Let's get a couple of questions on Zoom then. How often do we have to update our living trust? Is it like every 10 years, 20 years perhaps?
There's no set date of how long you have to update your trust, but you should update your trust. I would say you should at least look at it every 5 to 10 years to make sure everything's up to date. Not just both in terms of making sure the laws are still accurate, the taxes and everything, tax laws change all the time. You want to check on those, but also it's also a good time then to depends on if you have any life changes, if you got remarried or married, had more children, more grandchildren. So these are all the types of things that can cause you to change or update your trust. So it's really a matter of life changes and as well as just how things go. If there's a major change in our tax code, that might be a good time to revisit your trust.
Here's another question. I don't know if you can answer this one. It's from Zoom. If someone bought a house 20 years ago, does the title insurance still protect the owner against title scams, etc.?
Well, that's not too specific of, I mean, so if you have the extended coverage, the ALTA coverage, it could it protects you against things that happen after we issue the policy. But if there's, let's say someone records a fraudulent deed, it doesn't protect you in that instance. Like later on, they try to forge your name or something later on. You know, that's really a matter where you have to take them to court or sue them or get a judge to have that removed.
Hi, this is a question for Henry. Okay, living trust. This is about living trust, and we know that living trust is basically more like a directive. Like after you pass away, you know where your, estate is going to go to in details. But does it protect you from lawsuits from other people?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'd like to dispel that notion right now. In California, it is not. Okay, so just because you created a trust and you put your assets into that trust, it does not mean that it's protected from creditors. So if you owe money to anyone and you put your assets into a trust, they can come after those assets that are in your trust. So it does not protect you from creditors. However, though, if you have a proper trust with the proper provisions set in place, you might be able to protect your beneficiaries from their creditors in the long run. So I'd be happy to talk more about that in the future in another time. But for you as a grantor, as a creator of the trust, it does not offer you protection from creditors. Not in California.
Thank you very much for the great panel today, and I like the topic that you have today. I have a question. I think it's mostly to title. And I just learned that commercial title is a little bit different from the residential title. So the commercial does not have the encroachment or easement issues unless you buy an ALTA insurance. Is that correct? Or is it residential automatically have that type of insurance that when you purchase?
I mean, it's not really about whether it's commercial or residential, but it's really at the time when the policy is being issued. If you're buying a commercial property and you want ALTA coverage, you just need to ask the title company for the ALTA coverage. And they could decide to give it to you or not give it to you, Or in some cases, we've given like CLTA coverage, but then issued endorsements to cover the things that they're concerned with. Because we could not give a complete ALTA coverage, so we'd give like a basic coverage and then offer endorsements. So a commercial buyer, especially if it's like a very large like type of asset, they may be more privy and they usually have attorneys help them with their contracts and everything. Attorneys may look at everything and make sure that they have either the ALTA coverage or the endorsements to cover all the possible concerns for that property.
Hi, yeah. That's also title. So, we now know that a lot of people buying properties overseas, nationwide, like other states. Does the title company that we buy cover also overseas properties and also nationwide properties?
Well, so if the property is overseas, you would have to rely on the resources in that country. If it's not within the US boundaries, it is kind of it's a country specific thing. Every country and every state has different rules. So that's why, like I mentioned, the basic coverage in California is called CLTA because it's written, the policy is written by California Land Title Association, how it's covered and everything. It definitely, we as title companies don't offer coverage in other countries. There's going to be an agency in the other country that covers that type of property in that country. So you have to rely on that. As far as other states, there's lots of title companies that have nationwide coverage. So you're typically going to want to work with either someone in that state, just because they're going to be really knowledgeable about all the specifics in that state, or you're going to be working with a local title company who has national experience. Like they have title companies typically, if it's in California and you're going to buy a property in another state, they typically have a desk that specializes in other states if they're going to insure in another state. But yeah, there's definitely the available product there, yeah, for the other states.
Thank you, Joe. I have a question for Valerie. Because a client once asked me, they were interested in selling the property, but the neighbor had a giant tree on their property, but the root system kept breaking their driveway. Is there something that you could do or communicate with the neighbor for the client to maybe remediate a dispute about the roots?
Yeah, I mean, this often happens, especially, you know, how a lot of us, we like having ficus trees. And
Yeah, the roots grow above ground. Yeah.
they will really destroy the foundation. And so, in these situations, are you saying the tree is entirely on the neighbor's property?
Right, but the roots are, yeah, the roots go where they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, is the tree is on the neighbor's property. Ideally go with them like, hey, here's the estimate for the damage that's doing to my foundation, my driveway. You want to do something about this? But I would caution against you trying to solve the problem yourself by cutting the roots off on your side of the property, because that's still considered their personal property, that tree. And so if you kill it, you harm it, you are responsible for payment of that tree.
Okay, so the advice is anytime we have clients that have these type of questions, just recommend these attorneys and they can handle the problem and the question.
Any other questions?
That's it.
They're done. Okay, thank you for our. And now everyone will have the attendance drawing. Yeah, all WSGBR members are included in the attendance drawing, but not all can be names and displayed. Today, our pot is an even $500. Cash. If we don't get a winner today, we'll add $25 to the pot each week until someone does win. Pot will begin at $25 when someone does win. If for our last breakfast meeting of the year, we still don't have a winner, we will draw from the names in attendance at the meeting until a winner is called.
and the winner must be in person at the association. When your name is called, you must announce that you are here present. We will call the name 3 times. And if nobody responds, we are going to move on and there's no exceptions. Right now, the Amazon, Cynthia, then it's from Cynthia Chavez. Cynthia Chavez. Cynthia Chavez. Adios, Cynthia. Next time. Yeah. Okay. So the pot next week is $525. Getting closer and closer. The Amazon. Oh, I don't? Okay, okay. No cheating. No cheating. Free, right? Dora Leon. IRN. Sally from IRN. Sally Shu. From IRN. Okay. Stephanie Lee. From Huntington Realty. Have to draw one more. You still got a chance. You got a chance. Lorraine Clark.
Earl?
Yes.
64.
This is
50-50.
Going into
Oh,
right now.
I just want to share my weakness about mental positive attitude, MIP, which when he announced me, I said, I'm ready to go. Please give me a date for getting out. So this MIP.
I'm ready to go to lunch with you. There's fair, mental positive. Okay, and now for the 50.
Education.
50, do we have a winner? We already
Education.
have a winner, so.
Education.
Okay. Currently, we have up our classes for education. It's a really good looking lineup. We have the renewal for license for $85. We also have a home with diversity certification course with the cost of $39. And we have a commercial seminar, Know the Law, commercial NHD, environmental requirements in California. Excellent topic. That one is free, and CRMLS virtual training and marketing solutions is also free, right there. 07-28-53.
No. She has a great number. Wait. Oh. Number 10.
53. Yours is it's 7:53. Yours is 8:50.
Money back. Money back.
We have a recall. Nobody move. Nobody move. Lock the doors. No, under review. You're paying for lunch. Stephanie.
With the money.
Boy, I botched that. David's gonna fire me from that.
Okay, here we go. We're getting to announcements. Sean, you have the first announcement, and Cosmos, you have the second announcement.
Okay, go Shen.
Ladies first.
Donation, pitching for, Willis Blue again. 1155 South Grand Avenue, Unit 403 in Los Angeles. This is a student unit for only asking for $735,000. in a famous luxury high-rise PBO building in LA. Located 2 blocks from all the excitement of LA life and close to restaurants, shops, and entertainment. Amenities include full gym with beautiful skyline view, luxury lounge, and gorgeous pool spa with the 360 view, including private parking as well. So please check it out. Thank you.
Aloha, everybody. All right, you see the flyer up there? If you don't know, go ahead, take your phone out, take a picture of the flyer. We're going to have a mixer tonight at 5 p.m. Free appetizers. Look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Cosmos. But last but not least, 5 p.m. That's right. Refresh yourself from this hot weather. Also, next week, August 3rd, we're going to welcome Jim Clark, the WSGBR Government Affairs Director, and Jim is very informative. It's going to be a great time. He's going to give us legislative updates going on in Sacramento